Hello, I'm Colette. I'm doing a first question and answer section video that I've actually ever done. I've noticed other YouTubers do this, and I thought it'd be quite interesting to see what you want to ask about generally. So this is February's based on some questions that come in January. So let me see. This is my wee book with the questions in it and my uh, bookmark, which I love. Nice little rainbow there. Right, so the first question that came in was from a female on my Colette Clairvoyant page on Facebook. And she was in a situation where she'd asked about something that she'd lost with her pendulum and asked, would it come back to her? Would it be there and would she find it at one point? And the pendulum said yes. Now, she had tuned in the pendulum fine. She knew kind of what she was trying to do. She asked the question specifically. But what she wanted to know is that she has hunted high and low for the items she was looking for. And there's just no sign of it. And she's doubting the pendulum because she's looked almost everywhere that she feels that she could. Now, should she trust her pendulum? And I have to say, if your pendulum was tuned in properly, if you asked a specific question and it definitely was a strong yes, then please trust it. And I have a little story on this which comes from the past. I used pendulums in my 20s and 30s. In fact, I had a little brass one and I had one that was made of a ring. But I remember choosing an eternity ring with my first husband after I had my second baby. And I gave it to him about 2 months before Christmas and he hid it. I think he hid it when he had a few wee beers, put it that way. And on Christmas Eve, he was running about the house like a headless chicken and could not find my ring for Christmas. And I actually thought he was having a joke, but he wasn't. So on Christmas Day, I did not get my ring. And we hunted for it, and it wasn't there. But my pendulum said it would be found. And so I thought, well, fair enough. And I put it out of my mind. And then the Easter of the following year, I was having people to stay, and I thought I need to really go into the linen cupboard and get the things out that haven't been washed for a while, that they've been sitting there, their guest linen. And I went in, pulled them out, and the ring box fell out of a pillowcase that was hidden so amazingly well that we'd missed it completely. And I did get my eternity ring. So I trusted my pendulum. I actually just got on with things and sort of hid my disappointment. But the ring did turn up 3-4 months later. So I would say to the person, trust it. I mean, the thing is, you've maybe not asked, will I get this back in the next 6 months? Will I get this back in the next year? You could maybe make the question more specific to timing and see how that works for you. So if you've done everything right with your pendulum, please trust it. Okay, so second question, it's from Lauren. And she's asking, do I believe that animals have a sixth sense, because there's so much going on about dogs, cats, animals that know things that we don't. The first thing I'd like to say is animals have their own instinct, and that's why we have totem animals or animal allies, which is a completely different video, but we will do that at some point. They do have instincts, and some have better instincts than others, and for different things. They all have an instinct to keep alive, just like we as human animals do. So we normally find that with humans, we have intellect on top. Sometimes that can muddle our sense of instinct, but if they work well with our intuitive side, that should be fine anyway. So animals do have great instinct, but if you've ever seen, your dog or cat looking up and following something along, you'll know that they're not looking at nothing. They're actually, they know there's something there. And I can generally feel if there's a spirit in the room or see an outline when animals do that. We had a cat that was amazing for it. She's across the Rainbow Bridge by now. and she was really, really good at it. She was incredibly intuitive for spiritual activity. My wee dog, he's quite good at it too, although he can be a wee bit nervy with it. It's just about a couple of months ago, I was wakened up by him on the side of the bed barking, which I thought, oh my God, there's a burglar. But when I came to, I could feel that there was the energy of my dad in the room. And where I felt my dad had walked, the dog, my wee Benji, was back, 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 back. And once I calmed him down and my dad went, it was fine. But he does this occasionally, and it's quite fun to watch, but it's not so good if you're wakened with a start in the middle of the night with it. So I have these instances. We also know that, dogs can smell cancer now, certain dogs that have a smell, but that's a trained normal five sense. But it's interesting to know that sometimes your dog will just know when you're not well before maybe cuddle up to you, maybe nudge you towards having a rest, etc. So they do tend to have a sixth sense when something's not right. I've also, my wee dog, if I've got someone in for a reading, come about 10 to the hour. He has a wee run along the hall and gives a wee woof as though, what are you getting on to? What are you doing in there? Hurry up. And if it goes past about an hour and 10 minutes, my husband says that he really is pacing. He's wanting me to reassure him that I'm okay. And I think that might happen if I was, say, doing a financial kind of thing or talking to someone. But I think there's quite a lot of spiritual activity in the room, and he senses that and likes to check on me. But there's so many stories of particularly dogs and cats, but I know a lot of what I call horsey people, and some of the things that horses can sense and is amazing. And again, I'm talking more about intuition and sixth sense rather than instinct, because animals will instinctively know, if there's a storm coming. Cows will go to one corner of the field and get together when the rain's going to come on. They know that, but that's instinct rather than intuition. But for Lauren asking the question, I would say 100% believe that animals have a very, very good developed sixth sense, depending on the animal. You'll always get a psychic brick person, and you'll get a psychic brick dog or cat as well. But in general, I would say, in my experience, that dogs and cats, particularly, and horses have a very heightened sense of intuition. Right, so let me know if you've got a story about your dog or cat and that proves this, or is just a good story. Right, last one for this week's quite a personal one, and it's mainly, there's been about 3 or 4 people asked this question in the last month, and it tends to get asked at this time every year. People who are maybe coming for readings will say, you can see they're stuck in their job and they want to do something else. And when they know I was a pharmacist and moved into full self-employment clairvoyance, they ask, how did you take that leap of faith? What caused that to happen? And it's an interesting one because it's 20 years this year since I actually did that. Now, I had a really good job. I was in pharmacy. I was working in a lovely area in Glasgow. I had a really good boss who was such fun to work for, and it was a job share with a lovely lady. So I would say I was probably in one of the happiest pharmacies I've actually been in. Good staff, good people, just really, really interesting place. And it was good, and I was on a good salary, but that was 1996. In 1994, my dad had died, and I felt very set adrift. What's this all about? He was a good man. Why did these things happen? And I questioned a lot at that stage. But by the time 1996 had turned round, I'd been doing 3 days pharmacy and maybe a house party or psychic stuff or healing on another day or another night, and I'd been started to be booked for it. And I thought, oh my goodness, and more my senses were turned that I really wanted to, be a full-time clairvoyant, and I'd learned the tarot, I had various skills, and I just knew I was ready, but I didn't see a way of it happening. However, in March 1996, my mum died. Now, 1994 to 1996, although I'd been happy in my pharmacy job and I'd been enjoying more of the clairvoyance, my mum was disabled, so I kind of had my job. I had an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I had a disabled mum. So my time was very much not my own, but I felt more and more drawn to spirituality. Now, in the March, as I said, my mum died, and it was like everything changed on that. It was like, that's your parents gone, you're only 35, get a move on, do what you want to with your life. Because my dad had stayed in the one job for 42 years, and although he was happy, he didn't get much retirement before he had strokes and stuff. And I just thought, that's not ideal. And my mum, she just was a woman that gave to family, and she had a hard life, and there was a lot of good in it. But at the same time, when they both went, I thought, I enjoy being a pharmacist, but it's not my passion. And the more I thought about it, that was the match. I kept thinking, well, put it up to spirit. If it's meant to happen, it will. And then various things happened. My childminder resigned, and I had to find a nursery for my younger child. My husband at that point, my first husband, was made redundant from his job for a few months. And I was walking through Hamilton in Quarry Street, looking up, and I saw an office that was up for rent, and it just struck me as perfect location to launch myself, see if I could afford it. And when I went up, various things happened, and within a day it'd fallen into place, and I had this choice: do I do it or do I not? And there was this feeling in me, go for it. Spirits behind you, or they wouldn't have given all these coincidences at the same time. And that was that. And then I told my boss, who was absolutely lovely, I enjoyed, working for him, but I said, right, okay, I am resigning and I'm going self-employed. And he immediately said, oh, have you found a shop, a pharmacy to buy? And I was like, no, I'm going to be a full-time clairvoyant. And he kind of looked at me like, ah. And then I told various other people, and they were all quite shocked. My husband at that time was reasonably supportive, and he had time off work that he could help me to bed in the business. And it just was the right time. I'm glad I did it. 20 years later, I've not looked back really. The first year, I have to warn people, I did take a salary drop of, I came out with maybe a third of what I'd been earning as a pharmacist, and that was working a lot of hours. But I also had my hours that helped me be with my daughters. I was always there at that point to pick them up from school and to put them into school and nurseries. So it kind of worked out in a nice way. And here's the deal. Right. My guide at that time, White Storm, said to me, if you do this, it will benefit you in the long run. Do it for us, but do it for yourself, because it will benefit you too. And I thought, well, I'll be happy if it works, but I don't necessarily see how it might benefit me more. Now, over the years, I've never had particularly good hearing, but in 2002, my hearing deteriorated quite badly, and I had one hearing aid. And then about 3 years after that, I got my second hearing device, and never really thought much of it, got on with work, you get round it. And then I suddenly thought one day, I still am a non-practicing pharmacist. I don't practice, but I like to remember who I was and keep up to date with the journals and stuff. But I actually thought, would I be able to work as a pharmacist now in a busy pharmacy, trying to take messages from doctors and prescriptions over the phone? I can't hear on the phone. So I actually wouldn't have been able to be a pharmacist long term anyway. So when White Storm said, this will benefit you too, oh my God, he was so right. Because at the moment, I'm still managing to do my job. I'm still self-employed, albeit not in the same capacity I was years ago. But I'm still doing it, even though I have my hearing loss. Uh, so he was right. So that's my kind of story, a wee bit longer than I expected it to go on for. But what I say to people is, if you want to change career, try and dovetail things. I had about 3 years, 4 years where I was maybe doing both pharmacy and this, and more and more my shift became towards this. I don't think it would be a good thing just to stop and start, although that's right for some people. But by the time I launched myself in Hamilton, I had quite a good wee clientele waiting to be more regular. Uh, it was hard work, but 20 years on, I have never really looked back, and I've also never really had to earn from anything but this, which with the hearing disorder is probably a very good thing. So that's the question and answers. If you want to ask things, you can get in touch with me via YouTube, Facebook. There's links below where you can get me email addresses, etc. And I'll try and answer whatever you want that's general and even a wee bit personal if it's pertinent to what you need to know. I've quite enjoyed this. Yeah, so maybe do some more next month and see what you want to ask. So if you like the question and answer, give me a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing in this channel, subscribe, and look for the weekly tarot card, which is up every week, and the teaching videos. And I hope you like this, and I hope that maybe it's answered some of your questions as well. So many blessings, and see you soon.